Hello students, welcome to Philobytes. In this video, we are going to start a new chapter, chapter number 7, Arguments in Ordinary Language, translating categorical propositions into standard form. In ordinary discourse, the arguments we encounter rarely appear as neatly packaged standard form categorical syllogisms. So, the syllogistic arguments that arise in everyday speech cannot always be readily tested. They can be tested, however, if we put them into standard form, and we can generally do that by reformulating their constituent propositions. The term syllogistic argument refers to any argument that is either a standard form categorical syllogism or can be reformulated as a standard form categorical syllogism without any loss or change of meaning. Putting it into standard form is called reduction to standard form. When we reformulate or reduce or translate a loosely put argument that appears in ordinary language into a classical syllogism, the resulting argument is called a standard form. Now let's consider the different ways in which a syllogistic argument in ordinary language may deviate from a standard form categorical argument. Number one, the premises and conclusion of an argument in ordinary language may appear in an order that is not the order of the standard form syllogism. This difficulty is easily remedied by reordering the premises. The major premise is put first, the minor premise second, and conclusion the third. Secondly, a standard form categorical syllogism always has exactly three terms. The premises of an argument in ordinary language may appear to involve more than three terms, but that appearance may be deceptive. If the number of terms can be reduced to three without loss of meaning, the reduction to standard form may be successful. Third, the component propositions of a syllogistic argument in ordinary language may not all be standard form propositions. This deviation is very common, but if the components can be converted into standard form propositions without loss of meaning, the reduction to standard form may be successful. Now, in ordinary language syllogistic arguments, the argument may appear to have more than three terms. So how to reduce the extra number of terms to the required number of three terms? Number one, by eliminating the synonyms. A synonym of one of the terms in the syllogism is not really a fourth term. For example, the following syllogistic argument appears to contain six terms. No wealthy persons are vagrants. All lawyers are rich people. Therefore, no attorneys are tramps. However, wealthy and rich are synonyms just as lawyer and attorney, and also vagrant and tramp. So, if the synonyms are eliminated, the argument becomes no wealthy persons are vagrants, all lawyers are wealthy persons, and therefore no lawyers are vagrants. This argument in ordinary language now has been translated or reduced to a standard form, and it is EAE1 and is therefore plainly valid. Next, we can reduce the extra number of terms by eliminating the class components. We illustrate this using the following syllogistic argument, whose propositions are standard form categorical propositions. All mammals are warm-blooded animals. No lizards are warm-blooded animals. Therefore, all lizards are non-mammals. On the surface, this argument appears to be invalid because it seems to have four terms, and it also draws an affirmative conclusion from a negative premise, which breaks one of the rules of the syllogism. This argument, however, is perfectly valid when it is translated into standard form. We can reduce the number of terms to three because two of the terms in it, that is mammals and non-mammals, are complements of one another. So, by obverting the conclusion, if you remember, to obvert a proposition, we change its quality and replace the predicate term with its complement. So, by obverting the conclusion, which was all lizards are non-mammals, we get no lizards are mammals. Using this valid immediate inference, we derive the following standard form translation of the original argument, and now the argument looks like this. All mammals are warm-blooded animals. No lizards are warm-blooded animals. Therefore, no lizards are mammals. This standard form translation conforms to all the syllogistic rules and thus is known to be valid. The form is AEE2. So let's have a quick recap of the basic rules. Any syllogistic argument that appears to contain four terms can be reduced to standard form, that is, can be translated into a logically equivalent standard form categorical syllogism if one of its terms is the complement of one of the other three. Likewise, the reduction from an argument with five terms is possible if two of its terms are complements of other terms in the argument, and even arguments with as many as six terms may be reduced to standard form if three of those terms are complements of the other terms in the argument. Okay, so now let's have some practice. Translate the following syllogistic arguments into standard form. Some preachers are persons of unfailing vigor. No preachers are non-intellectuals. Therefore, some intellectuals are persons of unfailing vigor. Notice that in the given argument, we are coming across four terms. Preachers, persons of unfailing vigor, non-intellectuals, intellectuals. And also notice that intellectuals and non-intellectuals are complementary. So therefore, by the process of obversion, we can obvert the minor premise no preachers are non-intellectuals to all preachers are intellectuals. If we do that, then we are going to have three terms which we require. So after translation, the argument becomes some preachers are persons of unfailing vigor. All preachers are intellectuals by obversion. Therefore, some intellectuals are persons of unfailing vigor. And the answer is valid. That is, this is a valid syllogistic argument. Now, in the example that we just now saw, the syllogistic argument appeared to have four terms, which was reduced to three. But at least the propositions were in the form of the categorical propositions that we have learned, A, E, I, and O. But sometimes it so happens that in ordinary language, even the sentences are not in the form of standard form propositions, which are A, E, I, and O. So in that case, we have to change the sentences into the form of A, E, I, or O, and then only we can do the translation. So syllogistic arguments in ordinary language may deviate from standard form categorical syllogism, not only because they appear to contain more than three terms, but also because the component propositions of the syllogism in ordinary language may not at all be standard form propositions, that is A, E, I, and O. These propositions are clearly somewhat stilted, and many syllogistic arguments in ordinary life contain non-standard form propositions. Reducing these arguments to standard form therefore requires that their constituent propositions are translated into standard form first. So let us go through the rules of thumb that we need to know for sound translations. In ordinary language, we do not always talk in terms of standard form categorical propositions. We say things like, bats are all blind, all is well that ends well, gone are the days of fun. So in these cases, we first have to translate these ordinary sentences into logical categorical propositions A, E, I, or O. And the standard form proposition will have the quantifier at the beginning, then the subject term, then the copula, and then the predicate term. So bats are all blind will be translated into all bats are blind. All is well that ends well will be all things that end well are things that are well. All is the quantifier. Things that end well is the subject, are is the copula, and things that are well is the predicate. Gone are the days of fun. All days of fun are days that are gone. So all is again the quantifier. Days of fun is the subject, are is the copula, days that are gone is the predicate. The next rule is translating the terms without nouns by replacing them with plural nouns or pronoun. In categorical propositions, adjectives connote attributes. In case a proposition has any term, which can be subject or a predicate, which is an adjective, then we will have to use a plural noun or pronoun in its place so that they denote a class. For example, all cacti are green. Green is an adjective, so it has to be replaced by a noun or pronoun. So here all cacti are green plants. All elephants are vegetarian becomes all elephants are vegetarian animals. Orchids are not fragrant. No orchids are fragrant things. Roses are fragrant. All roses are fragrant things. So you see the words vegetarian, green, fragrant, these are adjectives. But we cannot use an adjective to denote a class. We have to replace these adjectives with a noun or a pronoun so that they form a class. And only after that we can translate the argument into standard form syllogistic form. In ordinary language, we do not always use the standard form copula, which is are. Non-standard verbs are also used. In such cases, the non-standard verbs must be replaced with the standard copula, which is are. All that glitters is not gold is translated into some things that glitter are not gold. Look, that is replaced by are, at the same time the entire sentence has been changed to an O proposition. Why is it so? So that the sentence which is given, all that glitters is not gold, does not lose its meaning. We have to be very careful while translating that the sentence given does not change its meaning when it is being translated as a categorical proposition. All that glitters is not gold actually means that there are some things which glitter and are gold, and there are also some things which glitter and are not gold. So this sentence has been changed into the particular O proposition, which is some things that glitter are not gold. Similarly, many a person has lived to regret a misspent youth. Many a person has lived such a life, but not all, right? So this sentence will be a particular categorical proposition. So some persons who live are persons who regret a misspent youth. This will be the translation. Not everyone worth meeting is worth having as a friend. This cannot be a universal proposition because there certainly are people who are worth having as a friend, isn't it? So it has to be changed into particular proposition as well as the non-standard verb uh, uh, being replaced by the standard copula are. So the translation will be some people worth meeting are not people worth having as a friend. Here all lions roar. All lions are animals that roar. So all is the quantifier, lion remains the subject, are is the standard copula, and animals that roar. You have put in these words so that you can make a class, animals that roar, until and unless you bring in a class in the place of the predicate as well as the subject, you cannot successfully change the sentence into a categorical proposition, a standard form categorical proposition. Similarly, some people drink Coke will be translated to some people are Coke drinkers. You can add these words in order to change the given word into a class concept. Similarly, all butterflies fly. Butterflies are insects, so you can write all butterflies are insects that fly. Some monkeys climb the tree. Some monkeys are animals that climb the tree. So some is the quantifier, monkey is the subject, are is the standard form copula, and animals that climb trees is the predicate. Now translating singular propositions. What is a singular proposition? It is that which either asserts or denies that a particular individual or object belongs to a given class. They make assertions or denials about a specific person, thing, time, or place. Like we often say, Socrates is mortal, Rama is a good boy, etc. Unlike categorical propositions, they do not affirm or deny the inclusion of one class in another. In order to translate such sentences, certain parameters are used, such as places identical to, people identical to, things identical to. These are the phrases we can bring in so that the translation is possible. Socrates is mortal can be translated into all people identical to Socrates are people who are mortals. Now, The next one is Rama is a good boy. It is reduced to all people identical to Rama are people who are good boys. The third one, I hate milk, will be translated into all people identical to me are people who hate milk. The last one, he prayeth well who loveth well. All people who love well are people who pray well. In ordinary language, it also happens that we do not use quantifiers which are used in standard form categorical propositions such as all, no, and some. Instead, we use words like every, any day, everything, and so on. So, what to do in such cases? So often statements begin with quantifiers other than all, no, or some. Then we need to examine the statement in the proper context and then rephrase the quantity designator. Statements beginning with every, any, everything, and anything without any negation are translated as a propositions. You have to remember this. Every, any, everything, and anything. If a sentence begins with these words, they will be translated into a propositions. Every person has his day will be translated into all persons are beings who have their days. Any day of the week is convenient. All days of the week are convenient days. Everything in this room is expensive. All things in this room are expensive things. Everything comes with a price. All things that are entities are that come with a price. In ordinary language sentences, sometimes indefinite articles such as a or an or the are used to designate quantity. Although they do not clearly state the quantity represented by them, while examining the sentence, it is important to keep in mind the context depending on the meaning. And as such, they are either translated as a or I propositions. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Clearly, this sentence is talking about all things of beauty. So it will be translated into a universal proposition. All things of beauty are things that are forever joyful. A pigeon flew over the bridge. Clearly, it is not talking about all pigeons that are flying over the bridge. So, some pigeons are birds that flew over the bridge. A cat is rescued from the sea. Again, it is not talking about all cats. So, we have to translate this sentence into the categorical proposition I. Some cats are creatures that are rescued from the sea. The frog in the left corridor is green. The means it means a particular frog, that is one frog. So even if it is saying one frog, there is no quantifier such as one. At least one is represented by the quantifier some. So this sentence will be replaced by the I proposition. Some frogs in the left corridor are creatures that are green. A soft answer turneth away wrath. Here, the meaning suggests that all soft answers will take us away from wrath. So, all soft answers are things that turn away wrath. Now, categorical propositions carry words that designate quantity more specifically than standard form propositions. Quantifiers such as one, two, three, many, few, a few, most, or any other number mentioning quantities have to be translated into standard form. The proposition carrying one should be translated the same as a singular proposition. However, a proposition carrying all other numerical designators like 2, 3, etc. to designate quantity should be translated as I proposition carrying some as a quantifier, because you must remember that some means at least one. Many, several, sometimes, usually, generally, occasionally, once, majority, most of them, once, etc. should also be translated as some. However, special attention should be put on propositions using a few and few as designators. They cannot be translated into single categorical propositions. Instead, they are translated as a compound of I and O propositions. Here are some examples. A few soldiers are heroes. A few means some soldiers are heroes and some soldiers are not. So here we see a combination of I and O propositions. Some soldiers are heroes or some soldiers are not heroes. Few boys are smart means some boys are smart or some boys are not smart. Similarly, most policemen are honest will be some policemen are honest or some policemen are not honest. Now, in ordinary language, there are sentences where we do not use any quantifier. Sometimes we speak like whales are mammals. So here we must examine the context and the meaning of the sentence in order to translate it correctly. Whales are mammals obviously is talking about all whales. So we will put the quantifier all. All whales are mammals. Students are absent. Here we are not using any, one, some, few, nothing. So just students are absent means obviously some students are absent. So we can translate the sentence into some students are beings who are absent. Cars are parked in front of the house will be translated into some cars are vehicles that are parked in front of the house. The next one, people voted. Some people are citizens who voted. The last one, man don't fly. No man are creatures who can fly. So these are examples. I have taken these examples all from the textbook Introduction to Logic by I. Kopi, and these are the ways in which you are going to do the translation. Now, in ordinary language, there are sentences that do not resemble standard form categorical propositions at all. For example, if I say, not all people believe in God. So this has no resemblance to categorical propositions, uh, any of the categorical propositions, but it can be translated into one as some people are beings who are not believers in God. Not all means it is not a universal proposition. Some people do. So this is how it is going to be translated. Again, nothing is both safe and exciting. So no safe things are exciting objects. The third one, they also serve who only stand and wait. All people who stand and wait are also people whom they serve. Now, acceptive propositions. Propositions containing almost all but, all except are statements that are called acceptive statements because they make exceptions in a general class. For example, all styles are good except the tiresome. Translating these propositions is difficult as these propositions make two assertions. They are compound propositions and therefore we cannot choose them to represent one single standard form categorical proposition. To make a fair representation of their meaning, each of these propositions should be translated into a conjunction of two standard form categorical propositions. So let us consider this example. All styles are good except the tiresome. All except the tiresome are good styles. The standard form translation is of the form all except S is P. From here we get all non-S are P and we also get no S are P. Hence, the solution will be all non-tiresome styles are good styles and no tiresome styles are good styles. Exclusive propositions. Categorical propositions involving the words only, none but, none except, no except are called exclusive propositions because here the predicate term is exclusively applied to the subject named. Consider these examples. Only adults can enter cinema halls. Now, this obviously is a universal A proposition, but the word adults, which is in the subject place, has been shifted to the predicate place in the A proposition. So it becomes all those who can enter the cinema hall are adults. Similarly, none but the citizens can vote. Again, the A proposition, all those who can vote are citizens. Citizens have come to the place of the predicate. Only members can use the front door. In the translated A proposition, all those who can use the front door are members. The word members has been shifted to the predicate place. Again, only brave people have ever won the Congressional Medal of Honor. So all the people who won the Medal of Honor are brave people. The words brave people have come into the predicate place in the translated A proposition. Now here is a summary of the difference between acceptive and exclusive propositions. In exclusive propositions, which assert that the predicate term applies exclusively to the subject term. Now, in none but the citizens can vote, citizens is the subject. And what is the predicate? The predicate of voting rights is only applicable to the subject. So this is how they have been translated. Acceptive propositions. These are propositions that assert that all members of some class, with the exception of the member of one of its subclasses, are members of some other class. In all styles are good except the tiresome. Styles is the main class and tiresome, which is a subclass of the main class, is accepted by the whole class. Now, how to translate propositions with adverbs and pronouns. When a proposition contains a temporal adverb like when, whenever, anytime, always, or never, the sentence can be translated in terms of times. For example, where there is no vision, the people perish, will be translated into all places where there is no vision are places where people perish. They go where they choose. All places they choose are places where they go. To hear her sing is an inspiration. All the times she would heard singing are times of inspiration. They go where they choose. All places they choose are places where they go. Whoever works hard will succeed. All people who work hard are people who will succeed. Propositions containing pronouns like what, whatever, and anything may be translated in terms of a thing. All of these propositions are translatable into standard form categorical propositions. Now, it is important to notice the order of subject and predicate in the examples. When translating such statements, there is a possibility to confuse the subject term with the predicate term. The rule which we have to remember is this: for all the W words such as who, what, when, where, whoever, whatever, whenever, wherever, the language following the W word goes into the subject term of the categorical proposition. For example, in Rohan does what he wants, what follows the word what? He wants. So he wants this, uh, these two words will come into the subject position of the categorical proposition. So the translation will be all things Rohan wants to do are things Rohan does. We are not going to translate the given sentence as all things Rohan does are all things Rohan wants to do. That will be wrong. Just remember, whatever follows the W word will come into the subject position of the categorical proposition. Reduction of conditional statements. In the case of a conditional statement, if, if the antecedent and the consequent refer to the same class of people or things, then the statement is translated into a universal categorical proposition, that is either A or E. We have to note that the set of words which follow if goes in the subject term of the categorical proposition, and the set of words which follows only if goes in the predicate term. So for example, if it's a Junko, it's the best that money can buy. So whatever follows if. So what follows if? Junko. So Junko will be the subject term of the categorical proposition. So all Junkos are the best things that money can buy. If it is a pigeon, then it is not an animal. So pigeon, if is followed by the word pigeon. So pigeon is the subject term. So no pigeons are animals. The third one, if it isn't a real beer, then isn't a bud. So real beer. So you see, if is followed by real beer. So the categorical proposition will be all real beers are buds. So that's all, students. In this video, we have learned about many rules and regulations following which we can translate propositions into standard form categorical propositions, and then finally standard form categorical syllogistic arguments, so that we can check their validity with the help of Venn diagrams and truth tables. In the next video, in the logic series, we will start chapter 8, which is symbolic logic. So goodbye for now. Thank you.